Old or new properties, which is better for investors? And what about negative gearing or other tax benefits? Does this tip the balance in any way? Hey guys, I'm AJ, Director of Handle Properties. We've helped over 80 clients purchase interstate investment properties across Australia, helping them fast track their path towards financial freedom. And today, in this video, I'm going to share our take on the age-old debate on old or new properties. So stay tuned. If you stick around to the end, you'll get a clearer understanding of the benefits of both, and ultimately, you'll get an understanding of which one better suits your strategy and goals, because it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. So let's dive in. Firstly, let's start with older properties. Now, let's be honest, a lot of people very quickly get put off with older property. Now, it might be the dated bathroom, perhaps the tiles or the floor colors you don't like, or maybe there's a horrible pink wall in the house, or a bathroom that you do not want to step into. The first thing that comes to mind is, would I be happy to live here? Or would I be proud to show this kind of house to my friends and family? And simply the answer might just be a no to start off with. But let's be clear on this. You're not looking to call this property your home. It is an investment. So emotions can very quickly get in your way. But here's what I need to remind our clients all the time. You're not living in it, your tenant is. So, especially if you're investing interstate and you have no interest of going into this house to live in it generally, and also you're probably looking at a more affordable investment option, what you personally like doesn't necessarily match exactly what the tenants within this area would actually be looking for. This is why it's so much more important to put our thoughts into it and put the emotions aside and really look at data when deciding on what the right investment decision should be. If you focus on the data, you'll see that existing residential properties, so not new homes, not off-the-plan apartments, particularly older existing homes, consistently outperformed other asset types in residential property, earn capital growth over the longer run. And it's not just about growth. There's some other benefits to older homes that we'll dive into. So let's start with the advantage of older homes. Usually we look for solid brick builds. Homes built in the 1990s, early 2000s are actually amazing quality. They stand the test of time. They're built to a high degree of quality, which means they're often built to last. With a few cosmetic changes, we can make either the outside or inside of the house so much more appealing for everyone and make it easily rentable for the next 20 to 30 years. Now, the second benefit of it, in addition to it being sturdy, is that they're often battle tested. So what you see is what you get. Any structural defects or major issues with the property are very easy to observe, even just by doing an inspection. But usually we get a pest and building inspection done as well to get into the detail and nitty-gritty of the roof and other structural aspects of the home. But the great thing is, if there are issues, they're usually easily visible and they can be noticed prior to purchasing the asset than having a shock thereafter. The third benefit is that you're usually paying less for this property. You're not paying the premium of a new build, where you're paying an extra amount, which actually goes to compensate the builder, for the look, appeal, and feel of the home to gain maybe some of that as a depreciation benefit off the back of it. And rather, you're paying less for the build, which is the house, and more for the land. So typically when you're buying these homes, you're putting more of your money towards the part of the asset that actually grows and builds long-term wealth, which is the land component. So which goes on to the next benefit, which is older homes are typically built on larger blocks. So if you look back in the day, there was very common to have 1,000 square meter blocks. Now it's probably shrunk away. Many new homes are coming up, especially in Sydney, outer suburbs at 250, 300 square meters, sometimes even less. The concept of larger blocks are getting smaller and smaller for newer properties. So when you're buying an older property, you're actually paying more for the land and you're typically getting a bigger block due to the nature of how long ago it was built. And land appreciates more quickly and land's what's scarce, so this is a great thing from an investment perspective. Now, the final bit, which I think is not talked about as much, is the value add component. Say you bought a new home on 250 or 300 squares of land, you've probably used up all of it. There's maybe a small garden, but beyond that, there's not much you can really do other than repaint the house or make it look a little bit fresher in 10 or 20 years. Now, with the older property, what you can do is actually boost equity. By adding things such as a granny flat, renovating the kitchen, upgrading the bathroom, you've got many options available to you that might either improve the equity value of the asset, but it might also improve the rental income that you're able to generate from it straight away. These options allow you to quickly improve your rental yield, allowing your asset to actually accelerate in value and also accelerate your investment journey. So now that we've confirmed the advantages, let's move on to what the advantages of perhaps a newer build, nicer looking home could look like. So for newer properties, there's definitely a place for them in your investment portfolio, but the use case is slightly different. Here are what new builds offer. They now offer more appeal. Usually they're built with modern appliances, they look new, they smell nice, they're very comfortable and put together in detailed ways, so you can actually charge more rent from them. They're more appealing for tenants because, of course, who doesn't want to live in a newer home? The second thing is there's little to no maintenance that's needed immediately. Of course, if you're buying a new home, you'd hope that everything's been built to scratch and the house is actually going to be pretty sturdy and okay for the next few years. And you obviously get depreciation benefits, which is the third big major advantage. So if you're on a very high income, you're seeing that you're paying the highest marginal tax rate. Depreciation benefits could be a welcome addition to your investment portfolio, allowing you to actually reduce your tax burden, which is very powerful. But there are some risks that you should be aware of when going into newer properties. Firstly, many construction defects associated with newer properties only really emerge between years 2 to 5 of holding that property. So it might look great at purchase, perfect from what you could see, but the cracks, the issues, the other stuff that actually happen with the home tend to show themselves over a 5-year period. So there may, even though it's a newer property, there may still be defects that you need to deal with and remediate. So you just need to be wary of that when purchasing it. They haven't yet stood the test of time. The second thing to look at is you are paying a premium for the newness. Builders and developers bake in a margin, which they obviously deserve to make from having built such an asset and selling it on to you. But you have to remember that you are paying more for this house and you might not actually be living in it. So the only benefit you really get from this premium that you've paid for the asset is perhaps a proportion of it will come back to you as depreciation. But here's the issue. Why pay the premium to live in a nicer house if you're actually not going to live there yourself? It needs to make sense from an investment perspective, not just an emotional one. So if you're going to pay another $50,000, $100,000 towards a newer home, just make sure that the rental difference that you're going to be able to generate from the fact that it's new compensates for the additional price that you've paid for the property, so that it makes sense not just from an emotional perspective, but also from a number or numerical sense as well. Now, in many cases, you're paying more for the structure of the newer build and less for the land, which is the opposite of what you typically want from an investment perspective. This limits your ability in the future to add value to the property. In many cases, the property is already fully utilized from a land perspective, and all you can do is really hold the asset and lift rents as the market changes. This limits our ability to actually get more creative and generate equity from the property or add value. You're very much needing to be reactive and wait to see how the market moves. So, while new homes can actually provide you with an amazing place to live and a lot of appeal, when we're looking for passive investment, we don't think they often stack up so well from a general perspective of buying high-performing investment property. When we look at the numbers over the long run, we see existing property consistently outperform newer properties. But like we said, which is better really depends on your circumstance. If your goal is to build wealth, grow equity, and want to manufacture value as another way to accelerate it, older homes, especially on good land, on quality builds, will provide you an amazing opportunity to do just this, and you'll also get more bang for your buck. Now, if you're chasing lifestyle, convenience, perhaps want to live in the home later on down the track, this is where a new build might actually suit you better. If you're also on a very high income and you need the negative gearing of tax benefits, it could also work in your advantage. The answer depends entirely on your goals, borrowing power, and your strategy for where you wish to take your financial future. And that's where we come in. So let's talk about what's right for you. At Handle Properties, we help our clients not only pick the best next property, but also the right property in their portfolio, based on where they are in their investment journey and also where they actually want to go. If you do a deeper look into the types of older homes that we love, how we select them, and how they've performed, you notice that we pick high quality performing assets that are actually fairly appealing, even though they're older homes. So much of the stigma that exists around them isn't necessarily true. If you're interested in learning more in exactly how we pick these properties and what they look like, feel free to book in a free discovery call by using the link below. Also, you can go to our website. We've published many case studies, which you can quickly have a look at to see if the properties appeal or if there's any interest from your end. We can also talk you through your goals, your borrowing capacity, and whether an older value-packed investment could be the right investment for your portfolio. Thank you very much.